and so we're glad to see that project come to an end. The wastewater plant and all the benefits that's what it brings. So in the interest of time, I've got a couple of small things that are not pressing, so we'll bring them up later. Council, you do have two items of unfinished business. First on the agenda, 103 West Homer Street. I think, Jacob, would you like to give us some information on that parcel?
Yes, so this involves a dilapidated structure at 103 West Homer Street. We discussed this briefly at the last meeting. I believe there were attempts that were made to contact the owner of that property that have been unsuccessful. The desire was stated for the city to proceed under the unsafe building law to have the building raised and removed. There was also the recommendation for the building commissioner to take emergency action to secure the building to make sure there wasn't any imminent danger to the public by way of this structure. What the unsafe building law permits the city to do, and the building commissioner as the authorized enforcement party, is to issue an order relative to this parcel to bring it into compliance with the building standards of the community. It can request that the unsafe structure be raised. That process would require a public hearing of the circumstance of demolishing a building before the administrative body here before the city that is prescribed by ordinance to address those matters. From there, if the body were to affirm the order, the city could proceed with the action of raising it, depending upon the cost, either with city employees or with a third-party vendor that they bid out through public bidding. Additionally, the city may, if it so chooses, seek a judicial order authorizing the city to take the steps to raise the building. In this circumstance, there are also statutorily mechanisms in which the city can seek civil forfeiture of the property, or in the alternative, as it seeks to recover the costs of the demolition from the owner of the property, it can seek to have recover those costs and also have those costs assessed as a lien against the property that it could then seek to enforce as well. What I recommend of the council on this item is to confirm what steps the building commissioner has taken, and if the steps that have been taken satisfy the statutory requirements for an order relative to such an enforcement action under the unsafe building law. And if so, if the public hearing that was held at the previous council meeting satisfied the requirements of the unsafe building law in order to allow the city to take steps from here to enforce that order and to raise the building. If not, if we determine that those steps have not been met with the unsafe building law, the steps taken to date, then what I recommend is that we work with the building commissioner to have an order in proper form under statute signed and notice of that served through the statutorily prescribed methods to the owner of the property as best as can be done, and that we begin that process anew to allow us to expeditiously move towards resolving the unsafe building situation of that property.
Okay, council, is that agreeable based on attorney's recommendations?
I'll make a motion to move forward with the city attorney recommendations.
With verifying building commissioner's procedures on unsafe building, and therefore if it seems doable to have judicial procedures starting, Okay, I'll make sure to get the motion right. Dylan made the motion, Paul seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Okay, that leads us to the next item of unfinished, 306 East Salem Avenue. Please, I think our attorney will handle that as well.
Yes, so this also involves the unsafe building law. At this property, there has been maintained trash and debris that is injurious to the public and allows for enforcement under the unsafe building law. There was previously commenced an action with the Washington Circuit Court, cause number 88C01-2210-CT-606. The City of Salem versus Brian Smith, Carolyn Smith, and Mark Fleener as defendants. On December 28th, 2022, the court entered an agreed order where the parties agreed that the defendants shall remove the certain items from the property by January 18th of 2023. If they fail to do so, the city is authorized to make entry upon the property and remove those items to bring the property into compliance. And this is to be done at the cost of the defendants. Once the work has been completed by the city or caused to be completed by the city can then go back to the court to seek a judgment for costs. In this circumstance, the city can either proceed on its own with its own employees. The persons working as a building commissioner can enforce this order, or alternatively, the work could be bid out to a third party if the city so chose. Given the circumstances and the agreed order, my recommendation to the council is that the council authorize the building commissioner and its employees to work and coordinate with also the police department to be able to make entry upon the property with an officer or officers present to ensure that public safety is maintained and decorum is maintained in the process, and effectuate the intent of the order. If there is a circumstance in which they're unable to do so in a safe and non-confrontational manner, then my recommendation would be that the city then bid this out to a third-party contractor in the business of doing this type of work, requiring certain insurance be maintained by such contractor, and then essentially try again to remove the property in accordance with the order, and then seek the costs through a judicial order. That's my recommendation.
Council, 1 second. Chief, you come forward. You comfortable with that recommendation? I don't think that's going to be too much heartburn. 1 or 2 officers shadowing our possibly building or a street department.
Yes, I think we can get that done with the court's order for sure.
Any questions of Chief? Okay, thank you.
All right.
So, we're good on that end. Council, I think our attorneys spelled it out the way we need to move, so your call.
I'll make a motion to authorize our city building inspector, city employees to work in conjunction with the Salem City Police Department to proceed.
I'll second it. Dan makes the motion upon attorney's recommendation of those provisions. Paul second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign. Okay. Council, new business, please. Ordinance 2023-4 is a transfer ordinance on page 12.
Oh, okay. Is this, it's new, that's right.
No, I'll transfer. All right. Okay. Your transfer ordinance is before you out of Riverboat from equipment line item to the employee line item. Council, this is for a payment of retirement benefits. We do have one that is leaving us, so that is to finish out that requirement. So no new money, just moving out of Riverboat. Seek a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Dylan makes the motion to approve the transfer 2023-4.
I'll second.
Gail seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Your accounts payable vouchers are on pages 13 and 50, and Sally has, that's a transfer.
Yeah. That's another one that's new.
Oh, I'm sorry, pardon me, Council, before we get to
Pass it
the,
on down to Marion.
before we get to the accounts payable voucher, sorry, I see what you mean. This is second transfer ordinance, resolution. This is a resolution 2023-3. This was a resolution brought to you tonight because in the, what I call chart accounts, fund reports, the city has got 2 donation line item funds, and in past, some donated receipts went in strictly the donation fund, and one went in the Park and Rec donation fund. So one was actually deposited where it shouldn't have been. So as a matter of cleaning that up and a housekeeping item, this needs to be transferred accordingly. So again, no new money, as you see, from Fund 2204 to Fund 2305.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-3.
Dylan makes the motion.
I'll second that motion.
Dan seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? No. You said no? Oh, okay. Then we will go to the accounts payable vouchers. The 13 through 50 is what is already in your packet. The additional voucher was the second handout. Those 4 claims need addressed tonight as well, so you can take it 2 motions or as you want.
I'll make a motion to approve the accounts payable.
Motion made to approve claims as presented as one motion, Gail?
Well,
That's fine, just making sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion made,
I'll second.
Dylan seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign? No. Okay. All right, so we have gotten into the miscellaneous. Council, you had one tabled board appointment that was discussed last month for the Washington County Salem Senior Citizens Board. Again, that board meets quarterly. That board has a vacancy that the Common Council does appoint. They have not met yet, so that was one of your reasons, so or you can pick that back up tonight, whatever discussion you have. No other names were discussed. There were two names brought to the council, or pardon me, to my office. One of them, though, does not live in the city limits, being the board appointment from your standpoint, so that name didn't. The other name is actually a city employee, so I have no preference there. Again, if you all have a name, you want a name, go right ahead. Or, third option, certainly, you don't have to appoint tonight.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to pass until next month on board appointment for the senior citizens.
I'll second. Okay, council, motion has been made and seconded for tabling until further discussion in March. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Okay, Randy Lee, Randy, you with us? Please come forward. Go ahead.
We want to see about getting the side-by-side ordinance shifted to a later time or whatever. There's a lot of us that ride at night. Sometimes we can't get back through town by 11 o'clock. Him being one of them, he has to sneak to come into town. I have spoke with other cities around us. Jackson County, there is no ordinance at all as long as they got headlights, taillights, brake lights. As long as they pass inspection, they can ride a barrel at night.
Within the county,
Within the city.
within, so Seymour or Brownstown?
City,
Seymour.
yeah, Brownstown,
Yeah.
not Seymour, you can't, you're not riding
Okay.
Seymour. Orange County, they have no ordinance either, as long as they got working taillights, headlights,
Within,
city limits.
what, our lanes or where?
I'm assuming Paoli, I called Paoli over there.
Okay.
I called Paoli City,
Okay.
and that's what they told me on their ordinance. Harrison County, you can ride over there. There's no ordinance over there either, as long as you got the proper equipment and, you know, insurance, just like every place else. Scott County is the only one that's got the same one we got, but they just passed their city thing about 3 or 4 years ago, and they said they looked off of our ordinance to kind of do theirs. Clark County, you can ride there as well. We just want to see if we can get it lifted to, you know, it's not like we want to come in town, ride around, mainly just maybe come through to go home, or stop and get gas for some of the guys that ride here from Scott County, or Orange County. We get several that ride with us different counties, and a lot of times, of course, our county's so big, we burn a lot of gas out here. So that way they can get into town, at least get gas and, you know, get home. And it's not like that we're up here causing problems or anything.
I mean, I live like right in town, so, you know, if we're out and, you know, it's kind of hard to judge how late we're gonna be out or, you know, where we may end up. But on our way home, you know, we're gonna make it by 11 and, you know, I live right in town, so if it's after 11, you know, I have to get home some way. And I usually try to, you know, come in and, you know, if I'm a little bit late, you know, just try not to cause any trouble and then put it back in the garage, you know. But I like to, you know, a little bit later, especially in the summertime, you know, we may not leave till 8, 9 o'clock. It's hot. There's no AC.
I'm sorry, what's your name?
Jesse Wells.
There's a lot of times when we're, you if you're way over in Jackson County, it's a pretty good place to ride over too, and it takes a while to get back over to here. If we don't leave till 8 o'clock at night sometimes when it's cooler, then it's tough to get back here by 11 and get home, including me, of course, I have to sneak home myself. I don't got far as Jesse does to go, but I do. Or Jesse does. And there are several others too, and of course, we're wanting to do a benefit ride for that Riley Children's Hospital deal to do for Walmart. We'd like to put on an later evening ride, and to me, I would think it might be even less traffic than trying to do it during the day. So, but if everybody's gotta be home by 11, it's not gonna work.
Randy, on an average, what is the latest that your rides get?
Well, usually, 95% of the time, a lot of us is home by 11:30, 12 o'clock. But there's just, like Jesse said, there's time that there may be a couple, 3 times a year that we may stay out later than what we anticipated. And it's a little later getting back into town.
So a fair statement, for the majority of the time, if we approve midnight, an extra hour,
Right.
would that
Yeah, that'd be a big one.
accommodate you a lot?
Yeah, it'd be a big one. It's just like doing the ride, this ride I'm gonna do for Walmart, we can, start it a little bit later in the evening where there's less traffic and get back to Walmart by 11, and then most people could still get out of here by midnight. 95% of the time, we're not out past 11:30. Maybe even, sooner than that. But it's just that we need something that these people can get gas, and they'll spend money here at our stores too.
Mayor, I have no heartburn with this at all. I would like to hear from our 2 city police department officers that we have in here.
Thank you. Chief, would you come forward? That probably would be nice.
That's fine.
Chief, can you remind council, I think, Randy, state police or DNR one has got some authority on the state elsewhere. Do they have a similar time on some of their jurisdiction?
Yes, Mayor, I spoke to one of the conservation officers today. There is a state statute, I believe it's from midnight to 6 a.m., that you can't be within 100 yards within a residence unless you're invited. So there is that statute, and I'm not sure what other statutes, but that one for sure I do know about. So it's after midnight.
So no riding after midnight.
There's a statute that says you can't ride after midnight, between midnight and 6 a.m. within 100 feet of a residence uninvited. So that kind of leaves it kind of broad, the uninvited part.
That's motorcycles.
Yeah. Chief, can you, or even Officer Moore, have you had any heartburn? Has there been any other past 11 o'clock issues that you're aware of so far under the ordinance we have?
From the facts that I have, we have very little issues out of the side-by-sides as far as complaints from the public or infractions or crimes they may be committing while riding those. So no, it's very minimal, if any.
Thank you.
Well, Council, I think it's kind of important to note too, in our current ordinance that we have for side-by-sides, they do have to have insurance on these, just like a vehicle. They have to have operating headlights, tail lights, turn signals, all that gets checked by the city police department. I don't have any problems with this. I would make the motion to approve an extra hour.
Before we vote, pardon me, Jacob, anything there that you want to add to council's consideration?
Not at the moment.
Again, current ordinance is passed, so you're not passing a new ordinance, it would be amending if you did take this issue up. So, okay, pardon me, Dylan, go ahead. That's your motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to extend it 1 hour. I believe it's 11 now, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion to extend it to 1 hour, so 12 a.m.
I'll second that motion.
Council, you have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Okay. We will have Sally draft a new one. Attorney will read it over. Probably, Sally, when would that be effective and amending that?
I'll defer to Jacob on that.
We'll need to have 3 readings for the revision.
So process.
We still got a little bit of time
Got a little
before
time
it's
for it.
warm anyway.
Yeah, a little cool.
Right, right.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you, guys.
all right, thank you.
That didn't take long, did it? You didn't have to bring your stick. That was easy enough. Boy, I helped you guys out.
Okay, Randy, Jesse, we got you covered, haven't we?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm sorry, is it Jenny or Jerry?
Jerry.
Jerry, please, I'm sorry, I wasn't for sure. Come on up, Jerry.
Will that help you guys get home now? Good.
Please, name and address for the record.
Jerry Walton, 558 North Brush Creek Road, Salem.
Okay, 2 minutes, please.
I just wanted to add to the side-by-side thing.
Oh, okay.
Midnight really don't work for me, but if I have to abide by it, I will. But, you know, I go out and use my side-by-side, do a lot of coyote hunting at night, and I might not get in until 3 or 4 or 5 in the morning. And I have to start around town or sneak through town, as Randy said, just to get home. And you know, I can't come in through town to go to some spots out here south of town because I'm not gonna go out to Bexmill and 15, 20 miles out away just to go hunting. I just want to see if you just lift it all together. That's all I was wanting, because, I mean, you know, I got pulled over one time by an officer, and it was about 4:11. And he said most people that are out after that have been having way too much fun. And I was thinking, well, you know, they can pull me over any hour of the night if they want to check me for drinking and driving. I don't have a problem with that. But it's no different than the people leaving the bars in their cars and their trucks and stuff at 2 or 3 in the morning. They're drinking and driving too. But if it would help lift the curfew at all, they can pull me over any hour of the night and check me. That's all I want to say. Because, you know, there's been several nights that we haven't come in, the sun came up.
Yeah. I would defer that to the attorney. I'm not sure we can even entertain past what a state conservation or state officer would have. Please, Jacob.
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't be within the jurisdiction of the city.
So cutting through town on the way home, you're saying? That, like if I'm hunting out east of
No,
town, to come through town to head home.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that we wouldn't be able to supersede what, you know, any state laws and regulations that say a conservation officer.
As far as 100 feet from the resident. So there's no chance of going beyond midnight, with that being said.
Yeah,
Don't think.
I just don't understand how these other counties, like these other towns, like Randy was saying, are getting away with it if that's the regulation.
I would need to look further into this particular regulation to be able to give you any definitive information on that. But, you know, speaking generally, you know, the city couldn't take any action to supersede, you know, essentially, you know, state law or regulation that would be enforced.
We'll do some double checking.
All right, thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Mr. Brown, Tommy. Name and address, please.
Tommy Brown, 604 Michael Street. Mr. Mayor, Council, I don't know whether it was a total slip-up. I have spoken with several of the residents that live within McCall Place. Recently, due to road construction, Lawson's has had to switch manholes from where he removes leachate water from the landfill. The manhole cover he is currently using is right after a curve there on Michael Street to the east of my house. We've got a lot of elderly people in McCall Place that walk. If a car is coming into the addition on Michael Street and goes around that truck and does not see them, we've got a safety issue. Several of the residents in McCall Place feel like there was no notification of this given to the addition. And I wanted to come forward and ask, why this wasn't done, because I had to find out by asking Lawson, what's going on. And he's like, it's nothing big, city moved me because of the road construction down by Cooley's. So if somebody could speak to this, I'd feel better.
Well, that was a Board of Works issue, but that was in a prior meeting, but I'll go ahead. Not an oversight, certainly that is the accepted practice of the landfill leachate. It does have to be introduced before the headworks of the wastewater plant. So yes, they did have an alternate manhole that they used. Certainly if there's a traffic issue that arises from this over the next few weeks, we can ask and find, and certainly a close by manhole that would suffice.
Okay, there's one 75 feet from that one up the hill, because I know he said his truck is gravity fed. If he would go up, now that manhole that's up the street is in the center of Michael Street, but it would get him kind of out of that curve, because it's a safety issue for him too, if somebody comes around the corner and don't see him. But there were several residents at McCall Place that had concern over this, and I told them I would bring it to the council and see what we could do. But so far, there's been no issue. There was no communication from the city that was going to happen.
Well, again, that's how the third-party vendor does that. So.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But like I said, I want to bring it.
Pass it on to Board of Works and wastewater.
All right, thank you.
You bet. Okay, council, we have made it to the end of the agenda. Seek motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
What time is it, Randy?
I don't know. I had no idea.
That's here, 30.